Good morning, Westside.
Good morning.
To those of you who don't know me, or for those who may have forgotten, my name is Russell Elleven, and I'm the minister here at Westside. I've been away on sabbatical for the past 6 months. It is good to see you. It is good to be in this house that, as our responsive reading said, creates so many opportunities for personal, religious, and community growth. It is good to be among you. It feels good to be with you again after being away for 6 months. Now, I'll be honest, it was good to go. But it is almost, dare I say, heavenly. Yes, heavenly to be back. Have you ever noticed how even those who believe in a heaven with physical bodies and renewed relationships with loved ones are rarely ever eager to get there? I recently heard about this priest, Father Murphy, who walked into a pub in Ireland and said to the first man he met, "Do you want to go to heaven?" The man said, "Yes, I do, Father." The priest said, "Then stand over there against the wall." The priest then asked a second man, "Do you want to go to heaven?" "Certainly, Father," was the man's reply. "Then stand over there against the wall," said the priest. Then Father Murphy walked up to a third man, O'Toole was his name, and said, "Do you want to go to heaven?" O'Toole said, "No, I don't, Father." The priest said, "I don't believe this. Do you mean to tell me that when you die, you don't want to go to heaven?" O'Toole said, "Oh, when I die, yes. I thought you were getting a group together to go right now." Did you miss me? But this is like heaven to me, coming back to Westside. And this morning I thought I would tell you what I did while I was away, almost like a show and tell, similar to what many school children may be doing this time of year, rehashing their summer vacations. And I know what I'm about to do has the potential of reminding you of a time when friends invited you over to a boring slideshow. Yet I hope you will bear with me as I attempt to share with you what I did on sabbatical. I did some very exciting things. Some things I already look back at with great fondness. Like watching all 8 seasons of Michael T.I. again. But the vast majority of time, I was doing something pretty boring. I was sitting at my desk trying to write a book. I'd get up at 5 a.m., run and walk around the neighborhood to exercise, come home to shower, read until 10 a.m., and then write until late afternoon, catching lunch when and if I thought about it. I tried to have dinner on the table when Gail got home, and we spent evenings catching up on her day. For about 4.5 of the 6 months, that's what I did. There was great structure, which I enjoyed, and a great sense of accomplishment when I sent the text off to an editor. Just this past week, I received her comments, and there still seems to be a long way to go in order to make the manuscript a book. I'm unsure how much time I'll be able to devote to a rewrite now that I'll be busy with the work at Westside. We'll just have to wait and see. I also did some really fun things. But before I tell you about those, some of you may remember that I said I was not going to cut my hair or trim my beard while gone. And I didn't, much to my family's chagrin. Each time I saw my mother, she laughed a lot louder than the last. Now, you know when you come up with an idea that sounds good at the time, and then you later realize it wasn't such a good idea? was to catalog my hair growth for you so that you would see that I did what I said I would do. I was going to take a picture every Sunday so that you would see that I looked like a day at church. Well, I was pretty good at getting this done. But would often forget this time. But my hair did grow as best my hair can. And I think this is about as far as my hair was able to go during the 6 months. I also wanted to tell you that more than anything else in this experiment, I wanted a ponytail. I wanted to have enough hair length that would allow a rubber band to grab hold of a portion of my locks and it jut out of the back of my head for the world to see. Within the Unitarian Universalist congregations I've come to know, there are always a few distinguished gentlemen who have ponytails. And I wanted one too. You'll be happy to know that although just barely, I succeeded in my effort. I only had it for one day, and only Gail was there to enjoy it with me, but I have a ponytail. I'm sure you will agree, this is one of my greatest accomplishments. I think it was much more fun cutting the beard off towards the end of my sabbatical than growing it out. I did some interesting things. My beard and hair almost completely off a couple of weeks ago in order to let it grow out a bit before I return. So there you have it, my sabbatical hair experience. I know you must be very proud. In addition to riding and growing my hair, Gail and I started out the sabbatical by going to Lanai, Hawaii. Lanai is a small island few people visit. This is a picture of me and Gail with leis given to us by the garrisons the last Sunday we were here at Westside. They understand that Hawaii is a very important place to me, though I'm unable to really put the words together as to why this might be. I slow down while I'm there. I relax. I love the mixture and mingling of cultures. I hike and tour and try to find places most tourists do not. Hawaii is probably the closest natural thing that resembles a spiritual experience for me. We didn't take many pictures on Lanai, but I think I will remember the night we arrived for some time. Gail had already gone to bed, and I was walking around outside. I have never seen stars like I saw that night. I can see them in my mind right now. It seemed as though I really could almost reach out and touch them. Perhaps even bring one in for Gail to see. I did take a hike alone one day in Lanai while Gail was at the beach. I went to the highest point on the island, did some reading, and found a beautiful cemetery at the summit. I also spent a good amount of time in New York City during sabbatical. Much of that time was spent studying at the Albert Ellis Institute. Albert Ellis created a cognitive behavioral approach to psychotherapy that I find very appealing. I've studied and used it for a number of years, but it was wonderful to go to a place with experts who can show you, no matter how much you think you know, there is always more to learn. While in New York, I went all over the city. Yeah, if you're a fan of the TV show Seinfeld, you'll recognize the diner here. I walked around Columbia University. I saw the famous Riverside Church you may know You may know of through their well-known minister, William Sloane Coffin. I saw Union Theological Seminary, and I walked over to the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. I even took the subway out in Coney Island. And I saw an off-Broadway play titled Freud's Last Session that depicted what a conversation between Sigmund Freud and C.S. Lewis might have looked like. I had a blast in New York City. I also attended a conference in Washington, D.C. on compassion, which in retrospect seems like a strange place to hold a conference on compassion. I only had one day of free time, and I spent that out on the mall, going to places like the Smithsonian. I spent some time at the Lincoln Memorial. I saw the White House. I spied the Watergate Hotel. And then I went out to Georgetown to explore and walk around the university. As you know, there is so much to see and do in D.C. that it is impossible to get it all done in one day. I knew that too. I wish I'd scheduled more time there. Towards the end of Sabbatical, for our 20th anniversary, Gail and I spent the day at the ballpark in Arlington. In honor of our anniversary, the mighty Texas Rangers defeated the Oakland A's that day. We then packed our bags for a second trip to Hawaii. This time we visited the island of Kauai, which has now become my favorite of the Hawaiian Islands. From our room on Hanalei Bay, Gail and I could see Bali High, made famous by the musical South Pacific. The real name for the peak, what the Hawaiians call it, is Mount Makana. We took a boat ride out to see the extraordinary beauty of the Naupauli coast, and while on the boat, I pretended to be a pirate. A highlight was taking a helicopter tour over the island. We landed near the waterfall, made famous by the film Jurassic Park, and basked in its beauty together. We then celebrated our anniversary with a sunset dinner on the beach, and really just spoiled ourselves. Needless to say, we very much enjoyed our time in Kauai. At breakfast one morning, I ran into this fellow and I said something like, "Why do you look so familiar to me?" And he said, "Well, I've written a few books. Maybe you've read one of them." So I said, "May I ask your name?" And he said, "I'm Sam Harris." I said, "Yes, I'm very familiar with your work." And he asked, "Why would that be?" And I said, "Well, I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister." And he said, "Ah, yes, then of course you would." He was very nice, but I didn't want to take up too much of his time. He just arrived the night before, and we were unfortunately about to leave. As you probably know, Harris has written books like The End of Faith, Letter to a Christian Nation, and most recently, Free Will, which I told him was on my electronic book reader as he and I spoke to one another. It was a spectacular sabbatical. And I again thank this church for the opportunity to be away for a while. I come back feeling fresher, more responsive, ready to continue on this wonderful journey together. I know some ministers do not take time away. I don't know their reasons, but I can tell you why I felt very comfortable in being away from Westside. Part of it is because of trust. I trust that you want what is best for this church and for me. and I have felt your trust in me for years. I could leave because I knew our relationship was strong. But most importantly, I could leave because I believe this is a healthy congregation, one that is mature enough to see the larger picture of possibilities. I will admit to some nervousness as I come back to church. You have always allowed and encouraged me to be forthright and honest on every issue, so I will tell you that my biggest concern today is being able to get caught up with everything that has occurred over the past 6 months and to keep up with everything that may be coming my way after being gone so long. When a new minister arrives, there is an amount of time where the congregation becomes familiar with the new minister, and the new minister becomes familiar with the congregation. There will be none of that for us. We have known one another for some time now. I could very well be wrong, but my concern is that I might initially be overwhelmed, and I fear disappointing you. So, if it's possible, I hope you will allow me to ease back in a bit at first. Give me a little bit of time to get my bearings again, if you can. I have some additional thank yous today, if you'll allow me. If you serve on the worship team, would you please stand up? And if you would please... Stay standing, please. If you serve on the chaplain board, would you please rise? My most visible duties were taken over by these folks while I was away, and I thank you for your diligence. I am indeed indebted to you. But if you would still remain standing, I'd like to ask that if you served on the last or the current board, would you please stand? If you served as a chair of a committee, would you please stand? If you served on a committee while I was gone, I'd love for you to stand as well. And if you at any time while I was away on sabbatical came to church, I would like You are what makes this place work. You are what makes this place special. Thank you all for taking care of this church. It has never been, nor can it be about one person. This is about all of us together. Thank you for making this place what it is. And I look forward to working with all of you to see what it may become. It was good to get away for a while, but it is even better, perhaps even heavenly, to be back. So if you would, while you're standing, please join me in singing our closing hymn, number 123. We're going to get out a little bit early, it looks like. Let's sing through 2 times.